first thing, let's get into, how did you get into CrossFit?
So it was, technically I started in 2019. And my sister was into CrossFit a long way before I was. So she had already been doing it for about 3 years, and I was in sports all through growing up. I played soccer and was really just kind of missing the competitiveness of a sport. So I asked my sister what she was doing. She had me come in and drop in, and then I was immediately hooked. So I did that for a couple months, and then I ended up going back to school. I was in college at the time, took some time off, and then once I graduated, I came back to it right around COVID time and found SUBU, and just kind of hooked ever since. So
was SUBU your first CrossFit gym?
So I did do about 6 months at a different gym in Orlando. And then I was also, this is kind of going off of tangent, but I was a flight attendant for a brief period of time. So I was traveling a lot, and having like a home-based gym where you can't really find in other areas was a little difficult. So I was there for about 6 months, and then would drop in when I could, but was just doing things in hotel gyms to stay fit and healthy. And then I took a severance package after 2 years just because of pandemic things.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got into that right before the worst thing.
Yeah, it was 2018 was when I was hired, and then I left the company right around mid of 2020, just when things were all crazy.
That's when they were kind of laying people off, I'm sure, on their own. So
So I was like being proactive a little bit, because I was like, they're either gonna lay me off or I get a severance package. So
I was gonna say
I took that, and then
you did get severance then.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yeah. As long as they give you severance.
Good.
Usually, if you quit, they don't give you severance. It's like
I know, which is silly because it's like you're kind of being proactive, but whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I'm helping you out by volunteering for this. Give me something. Yeah. No, they got to wait for you.
Yeah, no, they were really good about that for sure. But I mean, it just completely changed the job entirely. So I was ready to go. But it was never really something, I mean, I thought that it was fun for a while it lasted, but it was never really something that I could see myself doing long term. I'm more of a homebody, and so getting into the career at first was already a little bit of a stretch. So, but it was fun. I got to see a lot of cool places.
Okay, so you got into CrossFit, like 5 years ago, but then you took a break, and then you found SUBU. I would
say that typically when I say how long I've been doing CrossFit, I'll usually say like 3.5 years. It's been about 3 years at SUBU, and then I had about 6 months experience before that.
Man, you've only been 3.5 years at CrossFit, and you're as good as you are?
Nothing came easy for me. I was really bad, and you can ask my
I'm sure,
starting coaches. I had no such thing as body awareness. So definitely
but now you're lifting,
a lot of...
Your lifting has gotten really good.
Thanks.
In the past year. I think we're clean and jerking almost the same weight, to be honest with you.
What do you lift?
215. You're 205.
Yeah,
right?
I'm 210.
You're 210.
210. I'm only 5 pounds away from you.
Oh my God! And you hit that in the competition.
We're honestly probably similar in weight. So as far as like weight classing
goes, I don't know about that. I'm 160. I won't make you say yours, but I'm 160.
Good.
215. I know I can probably hit more than 215.
Yeah.
I just failed it.
That's the hard part, is that when you get into those heavy weights like that, it's a lot of technique that goes into it for sure. So
it's the jerk for me.
Yeah.
Like the clean, I mean, my clean is not that clean at all, but the overhead jerk, I just have these long arms. And whenever I put weight over my head, you can tell how long they are, because the bar is so far away from my head. Yeah. So those long arms, it puts a lot of pressure on my elbows. I actually do get elbow pain when I have to jerk heavy weight like that. Yeah. So snatch actually feels better.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is weird, because my snatch is pretty decent.
Yeah.
But my clean and jerk is pretty bad.
Oh, it's not bad.
I mean, so my snatch is 185, and then my clean and jerk is 215. That's only a 30-pound difference.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Usually it should be a lot.
I think mine's like 50 pounds difference or something like that. But snatch is not my strong suit, so.
It's not mine neither. I think it's just I'm strong enough to whip that weight up so high, because when we were doing the 1 rep maxes, I hit 185.
Yeah, that's really good.
It was more of a power clean.
Yeah. I think that's 20 pounds over your weight. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And I think I can go a little heavier on that too.
Yeah.
I think maybe 190, 195.
Yeah, it's a very technical lift, so.
Yeah. It's my favorite lift though. Yeah.
Really? Nice.
It
Clean
is.
is my favorite lift.
Clean is your favorite?
Yeah. I do love to clean. Squat clean specifically.
Yeah.
My power clean isn't that great, so.
Yeah. When you hit that one in the competition and that thing it did not look like a 1 rep max.
I will say that endorphins and adrenaline on a competition floor. I have done quite a few competitions, and we've had probably like maybe 4 of them have had some sort of max lift or max complex or whatever. And I think I've PR'd my lift in every single one of them, just because you get that Hulk strength. You're like, everybody's watching you, so you better not miss.
Okay, so for Sid now, when we need her to PR, we just throw her in the competition.
Watch me, and then or throw me in a competition or whatever. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been doing CrossFit for 3.5 years. How long have you been coaching?
Right about 2.5 years. So I was shortly after. I think 2021 is when I got my level 1 certificate with CrossFit. And then, started at SUBU and still coach every Friday. So it's really fun.
And do you enjoy coaching?
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, I will say that there is I feel like there's a threshold as to how much coaching you can do in a week in order to be effective, in my opinion. This is surely my opinion. But
I think Miguel would understand this.
When I first started coaching, I was coaching 4 days a week. And it doesn't sound like a lot. It's technically, when you look at it by the hour, it's a part-time job. But, I was exhausted, and I felt like by the time that I was at my 4th, 5th class of the day, I wasn't really as effective. And I think that that's just because coaching is a unique experience where your eye can get not as sharp because when you're at your 4th class, everybody's snatched or everybody's clean starts to look the same, or you'll see something, and this is a flaw of my own where you'll be like, oh man, that's going to be so hard to explain how to fix or whatever. And so you'll just try to dissect it a little bit. But I love it. I think it's great. I coach 2 to 3 classes a week now, and I feel like that is amazing. I could probably do a little bit more, but I think it's super fun. I have a really big heart for relationships and also being able to help people get better. And there's a lot of people that have, personal goals that it's really freaking fun to be able to help them get there. So
one of the things that I've learned from talking with all the coaches in SUBU, I think you're the 4th coach from SUBU, is they all have a willingness to want to help people in the gym. They're athletic in other things too, and you come to CrossFit, but having an athletic background, getting into CrossFit and being willing to teach people and wanting to do that is going to make the best coach. I feel like it does help when you have a team sport background or something where you have teammates that you're trying to help succeed as well. Soccer is a very team-oriented sport. If you have somebody who's needs some help, everybody has to kind of contribute. You can't just have one playmaker and then everybody else on the team sucks. So I do feel like that's kind of where it comes in a little bit. You're able to be that I guess mob mentality of you want everybody to be good, so then that way you could be good too. So it's interesting. A lot of us who are athletes, we were young, we were in some kind of sport, and then as we gotten older and we're out of college, there's no really there's intramural stuff that you can do, but there's what do you do after that? You still have this competitive mindset. You still want to be athletic. What do you get into? And it seems like CrossFit has filled that hole for a lot of athletes,
for a lot of people, for sure.
For a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing. The CrossFit gets a bad rap, I think, from a lot of people who don't understand or have a bad idea of it at its beginning phases when it wasn't as controlled as it is now. But like Miguel said, CrossFit keeps you fit to be able to live a better life.
Oh, for sure.
It makes you stronger. Like you said, you can pick up your kids, you can play with your kids longer, you can play with your grandchildren. It keeps you super fit. And as a former athlete, it keeps that that competitive edge in you. And, all the way up until 50, 60 years old, you can do CrossFit.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really helpful is the scalability of CrossFit as well. Like you can kind of grow with it. So for example, right now, like I love to compete. I love to, hop on a bar, do some bar muscle ups or clean and jerk 210 or whatever it is. But I mean, when I'm 45 or however old I am and I have kids, I'm not gonna most likely, you never know, but I most likely won't be doing the same thing that I'm doing at this day and age. So it's nice because you can kind of let it grows with you. So
yeah, it does. And it can always be at your level, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to clean 205, to do
well, and that's
CrossFit.
the cool thing about it too, is that when I started, 3.5 years ago, and I was doing very different things than I'm doing now, but I was still getting fitter. Like that's the cool thing is that it just takes a little different programming, a little different effort to get fitter. So, but you're still working towards the same goal essentially.
Yeah, I asked Miguel this question. What's the fittest he's ever been? And he's like, it's hard to say because he's still PRing even to this day. Yeah. He's still, I think his conditioning is probably the best it's ever been. His strongest might have been 6 years ago, I want to say, is when he was PRing a bunch of weight. Him and Larry, I guess, were just monsters around 2017, 2016. But, his gas tank now is probably the best it's ever been. And in CrossFit, there's no one, like there's no one thing that makes you good or the best, Like he said, you have to be well-rounded. Even if, 6 years ago you were doing all this heavy lifting and you're hitting your PRs, if you have a better gas tank now, you might do better in a competition than you did back then. Yeah. So it just all depends.
It's very interesting too, because I mean, how you measure that is important, because if we go based off of how many PRs you hit or like how many new skills you've achieved, like I was my fittest 2 years ago when I was like brand new to the sport. Now it's a lot harder for me to hit a PR or learn a new skill or, hit a new max set.
I see.
But at the same time, I'm doing things that I've never been able to do before. So it just, it's an interesting way. And I think that it's something that you get a lot of glory when you first start, because you're like, everything's a PR because you've never done it before. Or like you get your first ring muscle up. That is so cool. But now it's just like you have a little bit different of a desire. Like, okay, I have my first ring muscle up. Now I'm trying to string 2, 3, 5 together, Yep. So, and they get a little bit harder to achieve the longer that you're in the sport. It's still possible.
Yeah, you're right. Because let's say you gain every movement in CrossFit that, you can do. And also they're throwing new ones at us every year. It seems like they're throwing 1 or 2 new movements at us that now we got to start trying to do.
No more jump rope, please.
Yeah, exactly. I see you practicing those crossovers.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But
so like once you get those down, from there it's trying to do those complex movements within a WOD,
Oh my God, yeah.
So it never stops with CrossFit. And I think that's what makes why I like it quite a bit. It's always fresh. It's always pushing you. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to get better at. And then once you got a new technique, trying to put that into a workout changes it completely. So, and also the competitiveness about CrossFit. Yeah. Even though I'm my older age now.
Oh my God.
I say this now. I've actually kind of backed away from the competitiveness,
So it has to be fun. I mean, that's the thing, is that the second that it stops being fun is where you kind of need to shift your efforts a little bit. Like, I still find a lot of joy in going out and testing my limits and seeing how good I am compared to other people that aren't just in my gym day to day. But I mean, everybody's different. Like, some people just love to go and sweat and go home. Like, and then a lot of times it's their social hour. I mean, I know that's the way it is for me too.
Oh yeah.
Just walking into the gym and like chatting with my friends or whoever is at the gym that day. It's a social hour for sure.
Yeah, that's another aspect of CrossFit. It could pertain to any sport that adults are doing these days, but CrossFit especially is community.
Yeah.
A lot of us after college don't have that social aspect in our lives anymore.
Yeah.
You either get it through work or through family, but other than that, you get it through, things like CrossFit or other extracurricular things that you do. And I think CrossFit feels like a perfect role for that, right?
Yeah.
It just slots in so good.
I'm trying to think if there's
life.
like a quote or something. I mean, I know misery loves company is definitely like a common quote, but there is like a special bonding that you have when you guys are like suffering through things together. So, I mean, you get close real fast when you're both lying on the floor at the gym and you're like, man, that was the hardest workout of my life.
Yeah. But then you have someone encouraging you, telling you did a good job.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good. So I always ask this question, what's your favorite movement in CrossFit?
Oh, that's
or
hard.
workout, like.
So this is a little controversial, but my favorite like staple CrossFit workout is probably Fran. So that's 21, 15, 9 of pull-ups and thrusters at 95 pounds for guys, 65 pounds for ladies.
Yep.
And it's a fast workout. I love me a good sprint. I also love thrusters, which is a very controversial thing to say.
Not to me, it's not.
And you like thrusters too?
I love thrusters. I do. Thrusters are one of my favorite. It's because you're probably good at them, right?
Yeah. My cycle time's pretty fast. And then, I mean, 65 isn't crazy weight either. When it gets into those heavier thrusters, I wouldn't really say that I'm particularly great at them. But yeah, when it's like low weight, higher rep, that's where my jam is.
Yeah. Thrusters is up there for me too.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact.
I also love devil's press. So that's literally like it's double dumbbell movement where you're starting from the ground in a burpee and then you bring it to overhead, and I love those, and I know that that's another one that everybody hates. But maybe that's why, is because there's very few things in CrossFit that I'm actually, like, better than most at. So it's like the things that suck the most and that don't take as much, skill is more so just grit. Like, I like those movements a little bit better. Because I was not a great CrossFit athlete from the start, and I was like, I feel like I'm moderately average to slightly above average in most things in CrossFit. So when I have like that one or two movement that I'm actually good at, I'm like, all right, put it in everything, please.
Yeah. I get it. I'm a little less enthusiastic about devil's press.
Yeah.
It's in the middle. It's not my favorite. It's not my worst. But I also know when I see it in the workout, I'm just like, this is going to be a tough workout.
Yeah.
This one's going to kick my ass.
It's definitely a tough movement. I mean, it's full body. Gets your heart rate up. It's tough.
It has hurt my back before, because if your form's not good, because double 50s for me is a little bit heavy.
Yeah.
And
for everybody.
When you got to swing that thing up, you could kind of mess up your back. And I have once, but now I think I'm pretty good. Like, I won't swing that thing up. I'll keep my back, like, I'll get ready for it instead of just coming up, straight. So I'll position myself a little bit better, straighten my back, and then do it. It slows me down, but it's better to...
I mean, that's kind of a good point, and why a lot of times I feel like CrossFit gets a bad rap is we're doing things for time, we're doing things for speed. It's sometimes difficult to...
sacrifice form for speed.
To keep the form when you're trying to go fast. But, I mean, something that I love to say is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So... Gotta just keep
smooth as fast.
Yeah, gotta keep a pace, and I mean, if you're, fucking up your back, you're gonna be stopping your workout pretty quick. So better to slow it down a little bit and then be able to keep it. So
nice. Okay, so now that we know your favorite movement, what's your most hated movement?
I will wholeheartedly agree with Maddie in this, that double unders I can't stand. But I will say a close second is the Echo Bike. If I could banish anything from CrossFit, I think that it would be the Echo Bike over the jump rope.
Really? Why is that?
I joke that I look like I am a grandma going for a stroll in the park when I'm on an Echo Bike. I've gotten better, but... I mean, I will be what I think is like cranking that thing. Yeah. And I'll be on there for a minute and a half and I've turned over 2 calories. So, but it's not made for me. It's made for a 6 foot, 200-pound male.
Yeah.
For me to pull 2 calories is going to take a lot longer than Dan Sterney, who's over 6 feet tall.
I would agree with you. Echo, when it comes to machines, I'm not good at machines in general, but Echo is the hardest for me.
For sure.
I always choose it for that reason, because it is the hardest. But
you're stronger than I am, because I don't.
You don't choose it?
For that, yeah.
I always choose it if I can. If it's given the option, I always choose it. But you're right. It's built for big, strong people. Yeah,
it's literally programmed that like it's the average time that it takes a 6 foot, I think it's like 200 or 220 pound guy to turn the calorie. Yeah. That's how it's programmed.
The benchmark calculation
for the Rogue Echo bike. Correct. Yes. I mean, there's the Salt bike. There's other brands that do it, and I mean, I've been told this, and I feel like I read it somewhere, but watch, somebody's going to come and say that, did you fact check or something? But
we'll fact
I'm
check
pretty confident that that's what it is.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll still use it, but I agree with you. It does gas me out pretty bad. Yeah,
when you can hold 10 calories for a round, you're like doing that in like 30 seconds for your first round, and then my second round, it takes me like 90 seconds.
And I've always wondered, I'm like, how can I get better at it? Do you know this? I think I might have asked this to Miguel, and it's probably just do it, maybe? Is that the only way to get better at it?
Unfortunately, that's the way a lot of things are at in CrossFit, is that you just have to do it. I mean, there's of course ways that you can get better at things, like especially with gymnastics, you know, bodybuilding movements like strengthening your lats, strengthening your shoulders, like those kinds of things really help with just overall ability in any type of like gymnastics movement or pushing movement, that kind of thing. But
yeah, actually, this reminds me of something with Miguel, what he said. There's 2 things, I think it's like power and one of the conditionings where it's just, you just got to do it to get better. And then there's the skill portions.
Oh, sure.
Is where, you know, you still got to do it, but those are the ones that are going to take form, technique. It's more than just doing it. It's doing it right. Doing it a certain way. But for something like Echo Bike, I think that falls under just do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's no technique to the Echo Bike. It's just get on there and
of course, you can, to be stronger, you can push and pull the pedals and the handles a little bit better. Also, just by having a higher threshold for conditioning. That's going to obviously help you. So you don't necessarily have to be on the Echo Bike 7 days a week in order to get better at it. But if your overall fitness gets higher, then most likely you'll get a little bit better at the Echo Bike too.
Gotcha.
But
what are you currently working on as far as like techniques or different workouts right now? Like, what are you trying to get better at?
Yeah, so something, I mean, I do really enjoy doing muscle ups in the gym, and that's something that took me a really long time to achieve, so I'm just trying to get a little bit better at that. I do what's called a glide kip, which is technically illegal in CrossFit, so you...
Is this where the legs are higher than the bar?
Your legs or your feet technically are higher on the bar than your feet cannot go over the bar in order for it to be a credited rep in CrossFit for the bar muscle up. Yeah. So I'm trying to get a little bit better at those and doing a shorter kip, driving my knees up as opposed to my feet. And that's just the way that I learned it. That was the only way that I could get up above the bar. So that's how I was doing it. And then I just kind of got into a bad habit, I guess you could say. So I've been trying to work on muscle ups with the bar, and then also just trying to string some ring muscle ups together. So really in my gymnastics era.
Got it. Okay. Do you have handstands?
I do.
You do? Okay. And I saw you working on crossovers.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I do need to always work on anything with a rope. So rope climbs, jump rope, all of those things. So I don't know, just trying to be overall fitter. So
yeah, that's good. I think as a coach, right, you want to be as overall fit as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So I know that you've been coaching one of our newest members, and she actually had her first competition Was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. How did you go about coaching someone as green as her, because she's only been in the gym maybe 4 or 5 months, right?
I don't know exactly how long she's been at SUBU. It hasn't been too long. I know that
Christina, by the way.
Yeah, Christina. She had done CrossFit prior to joining SUBU. But she's definitely, I don't know if I'd say that she's particularly green to CrossFit. She's definitely green to competing. So I know that she's done some team competitions, but this was her first time that she really competed as an individual. So that was super exciting. She approached me and asked me if I took any clients like individually as far as like extra programming goes and just like overall coaching. And I have a really big heart for people who are new to competing, are new to just being competitive in the sport. I think that that's a really fun time to be in CrossFit. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, like you're PRing everything. Everything's a new skill. Everything's,
They're super excited.
Yeah, there's room for improvement in a lot of areas. So it's really fun. And so I was super excited that she asked and she crushed it. Yeah. She was up against 42 women and she got 8th place overall.
Really?
So she did a great job. It was funny. Awesome. I asked her afterwards, I was like, are you happy with it? And she's like, yeah, I wanted top 5. And I was like, this is like the epitome of competitive CrossFit is that you're never satisfied. And I love it. I think it's phenomenal.
You're never satisfied unless you're in podium.
Yeah.
At first.
Even then, like, because that's the cool part about it too. I mean, unless you're competing at an elite level, it's like if you're not first place on the highest, level or division, you're not happy. I feel like that's the way it is a lot of times.
I agree 100%. Man, I didn't know she got 8th. That's amazing. That's probably higher than any competition I've ever done. I think only like 11th is the highest I've ever gotten. Yeah,
I'm super proud of her. I told her that the first time that I competed individually, I think I was like second to the bottom, like literally almost dead last. So it's like, you're doing a hell of a lot better than I did when I first started.
I was right around the below 50% mark.
Yes.
Somewhere around the 40%. I don't know.
See, I feel like that's normal for your first individual competition. You're just going there to test the waters. But I will say that as far as like an athlete that competes, there's a lot to be said about one, being coachable, and then also just your effort. Like, I mean, she was 110% committed to things that I gave her about staying after class and doing extra work. Not really even, I mean, it's good to ask questions, but not even really questioning, just being like, yeah, whatever you want me to do, like, we're going to do, I'm going to do it 110%. I feel like that's the way to be successful in CrossFit and really anything in life, to be honest. I feel like it's really translatable. But
And did you go about, when you coached her, was it just giving her, programmed workouts, or just helping her with testing the workouts that she was going to do?
So a little bit of both. We sat down when I first started working with her. It was about 2 months ago that we started. And I just sat down with her. I asked her what she felt like her weaknesses were, where she think that she needs improvement, what she felt like was going to be the most difficult workout for her in the competition, because we knew that was kind of our end goal for the time being. And since we had a deadline with that, we wanted to work on those first and foremost. And then from then on, she mentioned that she was struggling with gymnastics movements. She said that her squat was particularly low. She wasn't super comfortable with those things. And there's ways to address those things, right? So, I mean, she and we had some extra credit, is what I like to call it. So after she did a SUBU workout, she would then do probably about 30 to 45 minutes of extra work. And we would do 1 to twice a week, would be me and her working one-on-one, where, she wasn't super comfortable with pull-ups and kipping pull-ups. And so we worked on her kip. We worked on, the hollow hold, like basic rudimentary functions of the movement in order to really just kind of get a better understanding for her as to, how to excel in that movement and then grow upon that.
Yeah. I mean, those kind of things like butterfly kipping pull-ups or butterfly pull-ups. I remember when I first started, it's a very awkward motion.
For sure.
And this is another skill portion thing where it's not just, it includes just doing it and trying to, but you have to be aware of your body and how to move it when doing those pull-ups. And it doesn't come intuitively, and this is where good coaching can help,
For sure. Well, and then, I mean, especially if you don't have any experience with gymnastics in your childhood, or if you were never put into like anything that gave you some sort of body awareness, so you can see like dance, gymnastics, whatever. Swimming is another one that like you have to really be aware of your body. But if you didn't have that growing up, it's really difficult to learn those things as an adult or, young human being.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a foreign thing, and especially if you've, only really been doing bodybuilding in the gym, that's very like static movements. Like you're doing a strict pull for your pull up. You're not doing anything that, is your body particularly moving into different axes in space. So it can be confusing.
Yeah. My sport was wrestling. This is what I did. I don't think there's body awareness at all. It's just...
Oh, I think that you could argue.
It's just like rams or bulls hitting each other. Like it's just like, can I get my arms around you?
You could argue that you have to be aware of your body because you're using your legs, you're using your arms, your core all at the same time. Yeah,
it gives you good grit, that's for sure. There's nothing like... I mean, the most technique is like maybe how to throw someone, right? Like a suplex or something. Like there's a particular way you're supposed to do that. But other than that, I feel like it's just brute strength and just trying to get your arms around the person or try to take them down to the floor, So I don't know how well that translates to CrossFit, but the good thing about CrossFit is...
You never know, speed, mobility, strength.
As a matter of fact, I think I spoke about this with Miguel. I feel like CrossFit is a very good supplemental thing to do for other athletes in other sports. So even if you're in high school or if you're in college and you're in baseball or you are a wrestler or you're in soccer, like doing CrossFit can give you that body awareness, can give you that strength, can give you that conditioning, can make you more solid. Like that will only help your sport. So now you probably can't do a whole lot of CrossFit because can't be too sore for your sport. But if I were a coach or something like that, usually they just have them strength train. But I'd say do CrossFit movements. Go do CrossFit 3 times a week.
Yeah. I mean, it's cross training. I mean, I think that it's important to have different areas. Like if you're I'll say soccer because that's what I'm most familiar with. If you're just running on the track as your extra, I mean, you still need to be able to lift weights and be powerful and also be agile. And that's something that is really encompassed well in CrossFit. And it's something that, we spoke about a little bit earlier, is that it's scalable. So, for example, like let's say that you have a big game coming up or whatever, you can be in the gym moving as opposed to competing, right? So yeah, I think that's a great way to, get overall better as an athlete. I mean, I think that it checks a lot of boxes, which is really helpful.
100%. And Miguel used to do soccer as well. And I would say, like, let's say you went into some like intramural league right now. I feel like you would probably surprise yourself on how solid you're going to be on the field.
I wish that I had this level of fitness when I was competing in soccer as a kid, because I feel like I would crush.
Yeah, if you're running to the ball, right, and you and the opponent are, about to run into each other, you're going to be able to bully that person out of the way to get to that ball first.
From the get, but
yeah, but imagine now.
I was a scrappy player, but yes,
with the strength you got,
even more.
You'll be able to, they might call fouls on you, but you'll be able to knock them over.
You never know. I'm pretty short, so I'd get away with a lot. But.
Yeah. So I think, I'm under the impression that CrossFit is a good supplemental training program to do for any athlete, even if you're still doing it in high school or in college.
Yeah.
3 days a week would only help you with your conditioning, your strength, body awareness, all of it. Mm-hmm. You know, and it doesn't matter the sport either.
Yeah.
Any of the sports. So, okay. So I usually ask this, but everyone's answered this question so many times already, is how was it taking your L1? You know,
I thought that it was super fun. I mean, I won't touch on to too much of what everybody else said as far as like, you know, the format or anything like that. But I mean, I think that it's something that every coach, I mean, it's really important for them to attend and see, just because especially the CrossFit staff that are on the seminar staff are so well versed in the curriculum and also just, you know, basics of each movement. I mean, you can get in the weeds a little bit when you're coaching a CrossFit class where it's a workout that has ring muscle ups, clean and jerks, or a lot of moving parts, for example. It can really get kind of confusing into how do you make this potent and a good workout for somebody that just walked into our door. So being able to, you know, learn like what the fundamental is of a ring muscle up, that's something that goes over in the L1. Like being someone who had just done CrossFit, like you don't know those things when you know, just start in a community or just start with CrossFit in general. So being able to be a little bit more well-rounded in that sense, and like how to scale, how to, you know, teach the clean to somebody who's never lifted a barbell before, like all of those things, it can break it down into ways that, you know, I have a better understanding now of how those movements are because of taking that course. And then I can also teach it to you, teach it to a new drop-in, teach it to somebody who's been doing CrossFit for 5 years that, you know, may struggle in that area.
Gotcha. Okay. So the L1 is like a textbook version of how to train people in CrossFit movements. Meaning,
so
what
it's
I mean
not
by textbook
it doesn't touch too much on how to coach it. It's more so like of you're being coached. So I had my squat dissected by the seminar staff. I had my press dissected. Like you kind of have like small groups that you have a coach, so to speak, but they're on the staff. And they just kind of go over those things, and you learn how to coach by them coaching you, essentially. Okay. So it's really, really helpful.
So it's a textbook version of how you're supposed to do the movements, not how you're supposed to coach the movements.
Yeah, I guess that we could say it like that.
Okay, because it's just a
weekend. It's pretty just a fast. Weekend? Yeah, and you have a test at the end.
And you have a test at the end. Okay, are you supposed to read a book or something and then take?
There is an L1 manual that goes over CrossFit methodologies and, you know, just kind of what,
and that's what you're testing
the sport
on.
is. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, one could argue that everything that you need to know, with the exception of a few nuances, is taught in the weekend. Oh, okay. So you wouldn't have to read, like, I don't even remember how large the L1 handbook is, but it's pretty large. You wouldn't have to, for example, I didn't read it from cover to cover before I took my L1.
Okay. All right. So this is what I was missing. I didn't realize that there was a 2-day seminar where you actually had people showing you things. Okay. I thought it was literally,
there is some lecture,
read this book,
like you go
take this test.
No, so you have like lectures. So there's like a flow master is what they call it. And then there's usually there's like 3 to 4 coaches there. You have somebody who leads the seminar and they are kind of doing the lecture, and then they'll have people that are demoing movements, and then you'll break off into small groups, and then you'll go over what you just talked about in your lecture. So for example, it's like the squat one day, it's the press another day. We go over ring muscle ups or ring gymnastics on the last day. And yeah, it's really, really helpful. I mean, you have a wide variety of people that take your L1. Some people that have no interest in coaching take their L1. It's just a good way for them to understand the sport a little bit better. But I felt like it was very helpful as far as, you know, being able to coach people and actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And you need your L1 in order to coach CrossFit, right? Like that's you're supposed to have at least an
so
L1.
I mean, you can be, so for example, something that I did prior to taking my L1 is I did some shadowing with our coaches that we have on staff now, just to kind of get a feel for leading a class and just like trying to fine tune your coach's eye, because that's something that you're not usually, you're not looking for those things when you're just working out in a class with your friends.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful, and that is something that you're allowed to do, but it's more so like coaching with guidance.
Gotcha. Do you have any plans to go for an L2?
Yeah, that's definitely something that I've talked about. I'm also interested in doing some of our other certifications. Like they have like a gymnastics course, a weightlifting course, CrossFit Kids, like that kind of thing. I'm definitely interested in a lot of those.
Gotcha. And I know that the L2, Maddie has her L2, and that one is a seminar on how to coach people, not necessarily how to do movements. It's more about how to coach people in the class, correct?
Yeah, from my understanding, I mean, I haven't personally experienced it yet, but from what I've been told is that it's more so of how to lead a class and how to be more effective with your coaching cues and like finding flaws, and also like setting up a class as well. So like, how do you warm up? How do you handle the strength portion? How do you handle the Metcon, that kind of thing?
Gotcha. And do you have any like goals for yourself? Like, where do you think your CrossFit journey is leading? Are you good where you're at? Or do you plan on getting an L2, getting all these other certifications? Like, is there a goal in mind for your CrossFit career?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. After your level 2, it gets kind of difficult.
A lot more difficult,
yeah, to get higher than your level 2. That's definitely an aspiration. It'll probably be in the next year or two that I get that. You're able to hold your level 1 for 5 years before it expires, so to speak, and then you have to take it again. So,
L1s expire.
Yes, yeah, they're only valid for 5 years. So, but you can kind of like re-up the ante, I guess, when you get your level 2. So,
so if you get your level 2, you don't have to go retake your level 1.
Right. Because it's like kind of re-ups it when you get a new level. So
gotcha.
But yeah, definitely something that will probably be in the next year or two for me. And then something that, you know, I've really become a lot more interested in is just working with more, I don't want to say beginner athletes, because they're not, but more like intermediate athletes who are trying to go to the next level. Just because working with Christina, I feel like I've realized that it's super fun, and it's also something that I have a heart for, so I want to get more into it. So
yeah, that's so cool. So you do plan on getting your L2, and you do plan on coaching for a while, like for the foreseeable future, right? Yeah,
I mean, I love it. I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I mean, of course, you know, sometimes like life and work gets in the way, so may have to. But I mean, I already have like a pretty cushy schedule as far as the coaching goes. I'm only a Friday morning coach, so. But yeah, I mean, I would love to try and expand my portfolio of individual coaching and stuff like that.
Okay.
However that may be, whether it be adding more athletes from SUBU or people outside of the community, like, or even just, you know, taking on more responsibility at the gym that we're at currently, you know?
Gotcha. Okay. So you plan on expanding your personal training, not portfolio, but you want to take on more people, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like say I'm going to have 30 athletes the next time we talk, Mo. But, you know, I mean, if that's something that, you know, I'm always willing to help people. Like, a couple of our friends from the gym, we were joking that it's skills with Sid. So we just like help afterwards, like getting their butterfly pull-ups and stuff like that. I just love doing that stuff. So, I mean, whether it be something that's a formal thing or just like a, hey, Sid, can you help me with this after class? Like, I love to do that stuff. So,
yeah, I know when it comes for CrossFit coaches that, you know, the bread and butter is trying to get that one games athlete, right? Like, do you feel like that's something you want? Like, you got to be coaching for a while. So let's just say in 8 years, right? You've been coaching CrossFit 8 years. You have your L2, maybe your L3. Would you want to coach a games athlete?
That's not an aspiration of mine. And I feel like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it'll change in the future, but I have a heart for people who want to get better, and I feel like 99% of the population and the people who do CrossFit, I mean, the reality of it is that we're not going to the CrossFit Games. The large majority are people that are just trying to stay fit, trying to have fun, trying to have a competitive edge. I mean, you can be competitive in the sport locally and not go to Madison for the games. So that's not something that I see on my radar. But I mean, you never know. And I feel like there's something to be said as well, is that, you know, as a coach, you really need to be like cognizant of, you know, you're giving them the tools, but they are ultimately doing it on their own.
Yeah.
Like, coaches should never feel like, I mean, of course we can be a tool or a resource for them in their journey to becoming an elite athlete or becoming the athlete that they end up being, but we're not responsible for their success.
Exactly. You can only help them with certain things, techniques, programming, all this other thing, but they have to have the drive. They have to have the heart to actually do it and to put in the work to do it.
Yeah.
Put in the
Absolutely.
time. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that goes the same for most coaches of any sport.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you don't see, I mean, I don't know, I guess you do see, but like in college football, like there'll be plenty of coaches that have players that go to the NFL or Heisman Trophy winners and stuff like that. Like, they don't get it. I mean, their coaches certainly help, but they're really talented athletes. Like, that's how they make it to the next level. And then you also see a lot of athletes who have natural born ability, and then they squander it because they are not driven. They're not motivated to go to the next level. And you can have as many resources as you want, but if you don't have that grit, that drive in your own personal self, like, you're not going to get there.
Yeah. If anyone is feeling a little bit unmotivated, the documentary The Last Dance, have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
So it's about Michael Jordan and his career. And this is a person who not only had immense talent, but had the mindset of a champion. He wanted to win. He had the drive to do it, and he made everyone around him better because he had the leadership qualities. He had the drive to do it. He put in the work. He would never ask anybody to do more work than he was doing. He would show up every day. You know, he would get upset with his teammates if they weren't performing to his level. You know, like, it was a little bit rough, right? He admits it now, but if you ever are feeling a little bit unmotivated, go watch that documentary.
Yeah, I'll have to put it on the list.
Yeah. So maybe Christina or something, like, Christina, be like, watch this documentary, and then have her come into the gym after watching it and be like, Sid, I'm ready to kill myself.
Yeah. I mean, it is true. I mean, I think a lot of it is a mental game as well. I mean, when you're trying to be successful in anything, I'm a firm believer in, some people call it manifesting. I mean, I think it more so as like positive self-talk, and then also just like repeating things that you want to yourself. And I mean, you know, if you're going for a big lift, you say, I'm going to hit this lift. I'm going to hit this lift. Like, having that confidence in yourself goes a huge, long way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and being driven enough to do it is also important.
Yeah, I think that's one thing about CrossFit that even for me, I don't fully appreciate is the mindset to have it. You know, like,
well, it's so easy in fitness to just be like, this hurts, ow, I'm stopping, or I'm slowing down, or I'm taking a break. Like, in order to be the best, be the fastest, be the strongest, like, you have to endure the suck. So,
especially in those last moments of a workout where it's like 60 seconds left, and you're like, how far can I push myself? You know, that's, I think, where the mind comes in a little bit more. And I think I've been told this before. It's like, you know, your body is exhausted, but no matter how exhausted you are, that last 60 seconds, you can always push to a certain limit, and it's not your body that's going to limit you, it's your mind.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you've
limit
heard the saying of that your mind is much fitter than your brain thinks it is. Like, I mean, your brain and your body does a really great job of preserving itself. So, you know, you have these fail safes, just anatomy and our genetic makeup that it's like, this hurts, I'm tired, I want to stop. And your body is capable of so much more than what you think it is. You just kind of have to reach those new limits.
Yeah, so the goal is to push yourself as much as you can right before you collapse. So that's what it is.
Essentially.
Yeah, so you want to get to the point where you can push yourself just enough that you don't just collapse in the middle of the workout.
I know, we sound sadistic right now.
I know. And this is the thing that people have a bad rap about CrossFit. Because we push ourselves to like some extreme limits. Some of us, not all of us, right?
I feel like sports in general do a really great job of, you know, paralleling personal lives and also, you know, personal goals that you have in your career, in your family, whatever it is. Like, I mean, finding new limits for yourself, realizing how capable we are as human beings. Like, I feel like it is a really great reminder for me, because when I'm in the gym and I'm crushing something that I couldn't do 6 months ago, it lights a fire under my ass. So I'm super excited about that. And I feel like it's really something that you can also put into, you know, your career or your work. You know, something that, you know, you felt like was unattainable a year ago is something that if you work hard at it, you can achieve. So I feel like it's really great at paralleling.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to end this podcast. Sid, thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. This is fun.